Hi, in this guide, we're going to be talking about how to import static assets into your React applications, specifically Next.js application. But this particular technique can be applied to even any form of React applications, including Vite, Create React app, anyone that you're working with. Without further ado, let's get started. So pretty much when we talk about static assets, we're referring to things like images, including raster images and vector images. So these are kind of pretty much the two types of images that are available for use in web applications. The main difference between both of them is, as you can see in this image right here, the vector images, you can see they look like much smoother. They don't look as pixelated. So unlike this raster images right here, you see how the pixels show up. So the issue with this is if you kind of zoom in this picture a lot, or you make it way bigger, then you start seeing these pixels coming out on these particular guys. So raster files are pretty much things like PNG, JPG, GIF, and so on, while vector files for our particular example are going to be like SVGs especially. So let's do a quick walkthrough of the current application. You have the Next.js structure, which is using the new app router introduced in Next.js 13, which is pretty much stable. We just got stable recently. So we don't need this image because we're not importing anything here. The main entry point of our app is this layout, which is where we're going to be doing importing our elements. So you can see we have a theme provider that is provided by a context. So I have a context right here that specifies the current theme of the application. And then we have pretty much two things right now, the navbar and then the theme switcher, which are going to be the two things that we're going to be using. And if you take a look at this navbar, you see that it imports an image, and you can see it uses the Next.js image components, which kind of run some optimization on the image that you're trying to render. So it's pretty handy because now you have a very optimized image. If it kind of handles, and also make sure it doesn't kind of go out of space when you kind of rendering the images. You can see we have the image right here. It's kind of imported. This is a way to import. One of the ways that you can import them is by putting your static assets in this public folder right here. And out of the box, anything you put in the public folder, it's going to be a static asset. It's not going to be compiled with JavaScript. So people have to kind of anybody that's working with you on this project will have to also clone this, download these public images into their own public folder as well before they can have access to these images. This is a pretty handy way to kind of import assets. But the problem with this is if this image is pretty much deleted from here. So if you take this image out of here, okay, before we delete this, let's take a look at what our web app looks like currently. So we have the website that looks like this. You can see the image, the logo that we've imported, which is it right here. And this is the one that's in the theme switcher, which you can see if you check the theme switcher right here. You also see that it has the same approach. So we're pretty much importing a PNG file and SVG. It's the same process, the same approach, the same step. You see, we just have just the file name here, SVG. And right here, we have the file as a PNG. Importing images from the public folder like this, it works fine, but it's not really the best approach because if the image does not exist in this public folder, there's no way at compilation. So you can only tell when you run the app, like in this case, even though the image does not exist and it's not going to display, it's just going to display the fallback hot text. You can't tell from the code. So one way to fix that is to kind of use JavaScript to import the image. And that's pretty much what we're going to do here. We're going to use JavaScript to import the image. So copy the link, logo.png, and then we have this. And now we can make do with this. I'll call it logo light. You know what? Let's call it logo, just as it is. Logo, just as it is. And then now we can kind of take out this width and height because we're loading this dynamically and from using JavaScript, Next.js can also kind of take a look at the image that we're importing and determine what the default height and width is. As you can see, now we have the image right here, and you can do the same thing for the theme switcher as well. So pretty much the same thing for the theme switcher. You import them and then we use this, and then let's call it light bulb. And then you can, same as it before, you can make do with this. Now we have the light bulb as we expect. Works fine, pretty handy. So as you can see, if a very good advantage of this is if this does not exist, so you can tell, and then it throws an error. So let's say, let's come here, this, usually it throws an error because now you can see when you come to the app, you can see it doesn't run. So you can easily tell, and pretty much it does so in the console as well, depending on how you configure your LinkedIn file manager. You can make sure only imports that exist can kind of be imported. That works fine. So let's just make sure it works now. I'm bringing the right thing. One more thing that you notice is this is like a double team application. So it has like dark mode and light mode, but we're only importing assets that work well with the light mode, because you can see the dark mode doesn't really look visible. Even the bulb here doesn't look visible, as unlike this one. So one thing we have to do is in here, you can kind of like bring in this other counterpart, because if you see the assets that I have like the other counterparts for the image. So I have a logo, and then I have a logo white. So what we need to do is bring in the logo white as well. Let's call it logo white, and then yeah. So what we do now is we need to have access to the theme. So we need to be able to know if it's currently dark mode or if it's not. So we bring in the theme provider. This has the current theme implemented. So what we need to do now is we check for the condition. So if the theme is currently light mode, then we want to display the logo white. So we want to display the white logo. So this doesn't run because now we've made this component unable to render on the server. Now this component has to render on the client, and that's pretty much what this guy is saying. So it needs to render on the client. And to do that, we have to just add that directive up here, tell it like it's a client file, and then we save this. Now you can see, sorry, it doesn't work out perfect as it is. So this should be dark mode. So now we can save this, and then you see like the logo actually like automatically renders, it changes, which is really cool, super cool. Let's quickly do for the theme switcher as well, so that it also displays the right way. We're going to bring in the same way we did for this guy, light bulb dark. We're going to call it light bulb dark, and then let's just copy and paste this guy. So now we're going to call it light bulb. This is the light one actually. So we're going to use the same thing. We already have this theme provider here. All we need to do is just bring it in, and then we say if the theme is light, then we want to display the light bulb light. Save this and then check it out. Made the same mistake again. So what we need to do is that. So yeah, cool. So now this works fine. You can do the same components. And this is pretty much how you import like an image. And one key thing that we have to notice, I mean, this works fine because we're only using like a single image, but for images that are kind of like rasters, like PNGs, optimization is best done on the server, because the problem with this is, so this is a logo and it looks fine. But in the case where you have it in a bigger div, then you can use the same logo, because then you start getting like this picture. You see what happens when I zoom it in. So the image starts coming out like super blurry, and then you can't really make sense of what exactly it is. So that's why it's best to do like request for a bigger size from the server. So you could use like a CDN. The best solution would probably be to use like a CDN to save the images and request for them wherever you need them. A good example of a CDN that you can use is Cloudinary or Cloudflare, which are very good CDNs that you can use to load your assets from a server, or if you have your own database, you could also load them. One important thing that we can do for vector files, because if you check what exactly the vector files are, as you can see, they're pretty much SVG files, which is an HTML element. If you copy this and put this in your React code, then it's going to work similar to how like a JSX element works. All you need to do is just like make sure you update the property names. So instead of like kebab case, you make them like camel case. So that's all you need to do. So now we're getting an error if you refresh this, because there's no directory called images logo white. So the images do not exist because I deleted them. And what I did was I brought in like, I copied the SVG versions and then I pasted them inside this React application. So you can see this is the logo CSX now. You see it has the SVG files that was previously the logo. So previously I downloaded the logo as a PNG file, but now this is the equivalent of it in SVG. So pretty much the SVG file of the logo. And what we can easily do here is can pretty much like just take this out and then bring in the SVG logo that we have, and save this. And now it's only the light bulb that's complaining. Now we do the same thing for the light bulb as well, because for the light bulb I also have like the SVG. You can see just brought to the SVG, copied it into like a React app component, passed in some props that are similar to what the SVG props actually expect, and then display the SVG inside here. In this case, you might get like some, so let's complete this implementation actually. So like now we can have like SVG light bulb, and then save this. Then you might still get some errors. So now it works fine. As you can see, we have like these ones, they work fine, but we also need them to display like on the light mode, and that to display well on the light mode. So now what we can do is a very quick fix for this is, because we're using this, let's do for the logo for the light bulb first. Because we're using this SVG, what we can do is in here we can kind of like use our CSS to decide what kind of field we want. So I've defined my tailwind to have like the right colors of the field. So what I need to do is, since I'm using tailwind, I have like class names. You can use tailwind easily and mix it in your SVGs. So if you save this now, you see I brought in like the field class name from tailwind on dark mode, and then the one for light mode as well. You save this, and then you see like the theme switcher got fixed for this guy. Then the same thing we need to do for the logo as well. Pretty much I have like the same class name as well. All I need to do is update these class names so that they fit into the right place. The same thing for this guy as well. And then the same thing for this guy too. If you save this, you can see it's matching well, but we still have like some inside here that doesn't really sit well. So it sits well on the dark mode, but it doesn't really work well for the light mode, because on light mode, you probably want this to be white inside. So what we need to do is come here and update the class names for these guys. So pretty much update the fields for them as well. So do it for both of them at some time. Simple, easy fix. And then now we have like our logo looking perfect. And even when you zoom this in, you don't see it getting pixelated. It still looks smooth. We have this guy as well. And one key thing that we're able to kind of like do is we're able to use a single element, a single import to handle like both images, as opposed to earlier where we would have like 4 things. So we had to like import these 2 images here, even though they're the same thing and only different in color. And now we don't even need to know what theme it is anymore, because we already have Tailwind handling that. You can take out this JavaScript part. We don't need this use theme provider. And then finally, you can save up on first load and load speed, because now we can render this navbar on the server, because we don't need to depend on the client to check for the current theme. So you pretty much using Tailwind that also renders on, you're using Tailwind to know what particular theme is currently on directly inside the SVG. One other key thing that you can do with this is you can even add an hover effect. So you can say on hover, you want the field to be red 300. Of course, we don't want it to be, but you can add an hover effect. And when you come here, you can see it getting hovered on. You can do this if you're using like the normal import with JavaScript, or if you're importing it from the public folder. But you can do this on SVGs. And most importantly, for images, it's important that you kind of like bring them in from a server or somewhere where you can already optimize them on there before you load them into your front end. And with this, I think it's pretty important, a very good optimization trick to be able to use a single image for like various purposes on hover, even on focus and different things.